Welcome to Beyond the OR with Dr. Kevin Brenner. I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. I want to take you beyond my world of plastic surgery, diving deep into exciting hot topics and delving even deeper into compelling characters that I've met along the way. We'll be talking with attorneys, actors, comedy writers, Navy SEALs, and many other fascinating and inspiring people with truly intriguing stories to share. So let's jump right in. Hey, welcome back to Beyond the OR, where we interview and talk with basically people who are within 6 degrees of Kevin Brenner. That's how Elizabeth and I like to talk about it. And today we are welcoming a very special guest, Chef Michael Montilla. He is a celebrity chef. He is a pedigreed chef. And also he is a patient or former patient and good friend of mine. So welcome on the show, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure.
It's
always fun to hang out with you.
I know that. I just
totally modest.
Right.
Totally modest.
I guess I should start by saying how fortunate and lucky I am to have you in my life. Not only did you meet me under unforeseen circumstances after I got bit by a dog many years ago, and I'll never forget Kevin's first words to me. Someone's been drinking.
Someone had been drinking, and it wasn't me.
and then the second part was, here's a clipboard. Can you sign? Because we don't take insurance. But anyway, long story short,
that is not true.
But he did sew me back up, and I am very grateful. And I brag about him because not only is he a great surgeon, he's a great guy. I'm so glad and happy that we've been able to stay in touch throughout the years. And I think I look pretty good considering.
I can't even see a scar.
He didn't just get bit by a dog. He got bit in the middle of his face, mauled by a dog in the middle of his face. So his nose, mouth, lips.
Well, you can't see anything.
Well, if I show you, you'll see that here's a tooth mark on my lip.
Oh, you don't. Oh, well, okay. Now we're really getting into it, huh?
But anyway, so he's the reason why I look more beautiful today.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got the genes, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Which I forgot to wear today, but I'm in shorts. You got the jeans.
I got the blue jeans. You got the.
But you got the tan, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, as well, you know, I don't know if Elizabeth knows this, but like one of my passions, well, eating, but cooking.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about this a lot, but and I think had I not gone to medical school, I would have been a chef. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, but I don't necessarily have the wherewithal for that. But I definitely would have been a chef, and so I actually taught myself to cook, just watching Food Network shows and things like that, and reading books and stuff, and so it's like I'm always trying to up my game. I'm not as good as you, but I'm pretty good.
It's actually funny that you bring that up because I was at the Cordon Bleu in Pasadena when I enrolled in culinary school, and there was a board-certified surgeon that was in our class, and I forgot his name, but he had a passion for cooking, and I think he ended up getting separated or divorced to the best of my knowledge to date, but he would go after his work during the day, and he'd go to the market and buy a bunch of stuff, and he would say, honey, I'm cooking dinner, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and the food was not on the table yet. So, but that was his passion, and I think he gave up his practice to become a professional chef.
Wow.
And I think it's a career that chooses you. I mean, you obviously went down the path that you went down because that was the path that was intended for you to have.
It was what interested me, but even when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be a chef.
Yeah.
Which was interesting, and I don't know why that never happened, but.
Or you had a different calling.
But now I do both. But now I realize that like cooking for other people.
Oh, it's not the same.
Is not really all that fun. Cooking for my family and for myself is fun, but maybe for a few other people. But like I mean, I see how hard you work. I mean, it's stressful.
You know what you learn in culinary school? You learn how to be organized. You learn that it all starts here, and eventually it has to, and my wife will, validate this. I always say by 8:55, I'll be ready to jump in the shower. The event starts at 9:15, 9:30, and I'm always on time. It's the craziest thing. being organized, it's the same thing for you when you're in the OR. You have to be organized. You have to make sure that your anesthesiologist, your assistants, everything, there's a process, there's a checklist. And that's what you learn in culinary school, is how to become organized. And it's worked. I am a self-diagnosed OCD person, and I think that it works for my profession.
I have a question. Did you know that you always wanted to be a chef, or was there a pivotal point that you fell in love with like cooking and said, "This is what I want to do"?
So, a little bit about my background. I come from a Latin family. Parties in the house were always prevalent.
Everything's around food,
food and
all
music.
the celebrations.
So
yes.
my whole family's in the music business, and my older brother Freddie
in New York.
Well, my father started as a record pioneer. My father was an engineer at NBC back in the 40s.
Wow.
And he actually moved to Cuba to found the biggest radio station in Cuba, which was the WCMQ, CMQ. CMQ. My father founded the CMQ. He, my father was a legend. If you Google Fernando Montilla, it will tell you a little bit about, who my father was. He was a pioneer in the music industry, especially in the Latin market. So being exposed to music, being exposed to food, always having people in and out of the house was a big influence as a kid. And as I was getting into my teens, my older brother would always have people at his house. And I remember going there on Saturday afternoons, and he would have a whole Norwegian salmon, and he would throw it on the grill and pour a little wine and vegetables, and everything came out great. I'm like, man, I want to do that one day. So I kind of like started tinkering with it. But going back to when I was 3 or 4 years old in Puerto Rico, we lived in a house, and across the street from us was the beach. There was an empty lot, and there was construction going on. I found 2 bricks and a abandoned refrigerator, and I took a shelf out, and I started a little fire. Back in the day, there was these pots and pans where they had door-to-door salesmen that would come and knock on your door. There were these pans called Presto. It was like cooking pans, pots and pans. And I'll never forget, my mother had bought this pot. So I was 4 or 5 years old. I was a young kid. I grabbed a bag of rice and the pot, and I went across the street with a friend of mine. We started a fire, and I went to the ocean, and I put water which is salted water, and the bag of rice, and I made a pot of rice, and I was selling rice to the
Shut
construction.
up!
It's like 25. They were, not that it was edible, but that was my first recollection of being tied into the culinary world. And then, cut to 40 years later, in my previous marriage, my ex-wife had heard about this culinary school opening up in Pasadena, which was the Cordon Bleu, and she wanted to go. We set up an appointment, and we sat down. We did the tour. It was a 2-hour tour, and they said that the program is a 3-year, 2.5-year program, and you get a degree at the end in culinary arts. In order to receive that diploma, you have to complete 1,500 hours in a restaurant that's approved by the school. So you can gain a little bit of experience hands-on. I ended up working up at Spago in Beverly Hills.
Oh, wow.
That's where I did my stage, what they call. But the fascinating part of the story is that when she realized that it was not for her, she's just looking to a place to go and hone her skills as a home chef. She went to the bathroom, and when she came back, I had signed it on the dotted line.
Oh my God, what a great story.
She was like, what did you just do? And I was in the cigar business at the time. So I was bringing cigars from Miami to LA. That was my previous business. But I got into the culinary world. It was almost like a natural thing for me. And I really excelled in culinary school because I loved it. I was the spokesperson for the Culinary Academy in Hollywood. And, in front of 200-300 people that would be interested in the program. And everybody thinks that they're cut out for this, but it's a career that chooses you. I can hand you a guitar and show you how to read music and play the guitar. You're never going to be a virtuoso. You either have it or you don't.
Right.
He has a knack, and he's very good at it because that's, yes, anybody can go to medical school and become a surgeon, but are you going to be
not a great surgeon?
Exactly, and there's a difference between good and great, and that's what differentiates.
There's definitely a difference, and you have to have an interest in it.
Correct.
And the interesting thing, because I've read so much, just because the whole chef world kind of fascinates me. I've read so much about kind of the training process, and it's very similar actually to like a surgery residency in terms of like the hierarchy, in terms of like
The chain of command.
Chain of command, just getting beaten to shit and brutalized by your superiors. Working, you have to work in like every department, so to speak.
Yep, every station.
You have to work your way up, and you really have to like prove yourself and like meet certain specifications in order to advance, right? And then eventually have your own gig.
Yes.
So it was interesting to me, like just how parallel it is.
Very similar. Working, I think this is actually a fascinating part of my life, how I got into Spago, because this was year 1999, 2000. Cell phones were in their infancy. Back in the day, the computer was a gateway. Yahoo was...
That was my first computer, was a
gateway. Remember the cow?
It was big, yeah.
And I overheard somebody, when I enrolled in culinary school, they said, once you start school, we suggest that you start looking for work, because in order to complete 1,500 hours, it's going to take you over a year, if you get a part-time job. So everybody's like kind of like holding back. The first semester's intro to culinary art, knife skills, cutting vegetables, making mirepoix. For those that don't know mirepoix, carrots, onions, and celery.
Yes.
You make stocks, you make soups. You get familiar with the basics, the tools. But I overheard somebody in the hallway talking about, oh, Sherry Yard at Spago, the pastry chef, is looking for help. And as I mentioned earlier, I was in the cigar business prior, so I had a relationship with the Hotel Bel Air. I was selling cigars to Schatzi, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger's restaurant, and I was doing their private label cigars. I had a little Mercedes. My license plate was one GR8 cigar, one great cigar.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. And then...
so cigars got you to LA, not...
No, cigars did not get me to LA. Mangoes got me to LA. Funny that you bring this up. But let me finish this quick story of Sherry Yard. So cut to, I'm calling every day, Spago, leaving a message. Hi, Sherry, this is Michael Montilla. I'm in culinary school. I understand you're looking for help. Please call me. Every other day, hi, Sherry, this is Michael Montilla. I just saw you on the Today Show. Congratulations. Please call me. I'm looking. Hey, Sherry, it's Michael. So this went on for weeks. I was very persistent. On a Saturday, I'll never forget this. I get a call from her, and I answer the phone, and it's like, I'm like, who is this? She says, you are hysterical. This is Sherry Yard from Spago. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, when can you come in? I said, now. So I showed up at Spago. She loved my energy, and she said to me, I don't think I can use you in the pastry department because you're not familiar. Baking and pastries is usually the last semester. But anyway, she called out the executive sous chef, and a big shout out to this guy who passed away, actually. His name was Matt Benchivenga. He came out. Does he ring a bell?
Yeah.
Matt Benchivenga.
I'll tell you why later.
Matt Benchivenga comes out with his towel. Hey, guy, how you doing? Guy from New Jersey. Hey, how you doing? Hey, let me tell you something. I'll give you, without even talking to me for 5 minutes, I like your energy. I like who you are. I just want you to know that we go through chefs here like kitchen towels. I'll never forget that quote. So cut to, I start the following week, and I show up with my neckerchief, my white jacket, the cordon bleu, Michael Montilla. I had my ruler, my Sharpie, my white pad. I was decked out. The executive chef, a guy by the name of Lee Hefter, looks at me and says, hey, Matt, who the fuck is this guy? He says, Matt, just to give you an idea what a great guy he was, he says, Chef, that's the guy that I told you about the Hotel Bel Air. And all I said to Matt was, I'm in the cigar business. I have a relationship with the chef at the Hotel Bel Air. I either want to work there or I want to work here, but I need to complete my hours. And apparently he had told his chef that I was some guy from the Hotel Bel Air. Next thing you know, I'm working in there, and they throw me into a station. And, I'll tell you one thing, it's not for everybody, especially that kitchen. I don't know if you know the name Jerry Parencio. He owned Viacom. He was a big TV guy. His personal chef came into Spago while I was working there. He said in the middle of the shift, I have to go put more money in the meter. I'll be right back. Never came back.
Oh my God! I did that on a date.
They throw pots and pans. They throw pots.
I thought about doing that on a blind date.
They throw pots and pans. They yell at you. They insult you. Hey, Michael, are you a fruitcake? I said, no, chef. They used to call me Tan Man. So if you ask anybody, Michael Montilla from Spago, they're gonna say no. Do you know Tan Man? Oh, Tan Man. And it wasn't like I never sit in the sun. For me to lay there on a chair, that's not what I do. I love being outdoors.
They don't get a lot
Well,
of
you're
sun in the kitchen.
caribeño.
Caribeño. Okay. Matt Benchivenga.
So I was gonna say, how long did you stay at Spago? Did you just complete your hours,
I
or
completed
did you
my-
ended up
no.
staying on?
I stayed a little bit longer, but I remember that once I had completed my hours, now I'm in finals. So it's like 2.5 years into it. And I get a call from this Lee Hefter guy who was he was the right-hand man. He had one of the sous chefs call me up, Stuart. I'll never forget, I was driving and I'm in the middle, I'm about to go into finals. 2.5 years, a very expensive career that I'm about to launch. And he says to me, you need to work these certain hours next week. I said, I can't, I'm in the middle of finals. The chef says that he wants you to quit school, he's gonna teach you how to cook. And I said, I can't quit school. So they gave me an ultimatum, you either come work next week, and that's what ended my relationship there. And I'm like, I was getting paid, I think it was either $8 or $9 an hour. I would get paid every 2 weeks. I would take my paycheck, go to the bank, cash it, go 2 blocks to Gucci and buy a pair of loafers. That's what I did.
That seems like a wise way to save your money.
Correct. So now those Gucci shoes are worth,
So my cousin, who I don't believe you've met, but you will.
At your birthday party, I probably met him.
Her.
Yes,
Fleur. She's from France, but she married, her ex-husband is a chef. And he introduced me at one of his parties to Barbara Brass. Barbara is I believe, the head of catering for Wolfgang Puck Corporation now.
Don't know it.
But Barbara is friends with Sarah.
And Sarah?
Benchivenga.
Sarah Benchivenga.
Matt's
widow, yeah.
Widow, yeah.
Yes.
So when you said that name, I'm like that name.
Yeah, so just imagine, I don't know if not to, put vinegar in the Kool-Aid here, but at Forest Lawn, they have, when people die, they do the services there, they have certain rooms, but they have, it's almost like an auditorium, it's called a Hall of Justice or Hall of something, I forgot what the name is. It's like a big auditorium. And I'll never forget walking into this place and seeing thousands and thousands of people. And, it was very moving. So funny story. Matt Benchivenga now is lying in state in the casket, and the first speaker that comes up.
This is a funny story.
Well, it's a funny story because.
Okay. There better be a funny.
Yeah, but anyway, Wolfgang Puck gets up and he's like, his first words. There's obviously, the officiant that kind of like runs the show there, and our first guest speaker is going to be Wolfgang Puck. Wolfgang comes up, and he's like, "Today I'm pissed off at God." That woke everybody up. It took this man too young. What a talent, a lot of. Anyway, so at the end of the service, everybody stays and goes in line and, pay the respects to Matt. Everybody, left. I was at the end of the line saying hello to a lot of people. I was probably standing in line for about 40 minutes. I get to the casket, and there is Matt wearing his presidential gold Rolex, his shirt over his jacket, the collar, open chest with a, rope chain.
Yeah.
And he's all in makeup. So I look at the casket and I like, who's Tan Man now, huh? Because he's the one that coined me Tan Man. And I'm like, who's Tan Man now?
That's terrible.
That is terrible. But you know what? I got teary-eyed and I did say to him, I said, Matt, thank you for the opportunity, because if it wasn't for him, this is the guy that really,
he christened you.
He
with
christened me,
Tan Man.
but he took me under his wing and he protected me in the kitchen. I don't know, there's a show, if you guys, I haven't seen it yet. It's called There's a Rat in the Kitchen with Ludo.
Yeah, I seen it.
So there's like 6 or 7 chefs, and one of them is, his intentions is to fuck up your dish. He's gonna put vinegar in your water. They go behind your back, let me help you, and they try to like mess up your plate. And in the kitchen, it's the same thing. You would ask, you're green. Hey, where can I get the harissa? Oh, I don't know. Go figure it out yourself. You are a threat. I had a little bit of a different approach. I was always into fine dining. I always liked to go out, spend money on a good meal. I always liked to look pretty. I always had a nice car. So I was, the antithesis of what I should have been. And Wolfgang noticed that in me, and he sent me out. Once I was working the line, they would send me out to do all the private events with Matt. And this is before Hollywood Highland, before the Oscars and all this shit. But I was working at Spago during the same time that Hollywood, the Sunset and Horn Avenue, they were both open for probably about a year simultaneously. They were both running. So I would bounce back between the two and doing more. At the end, I was doing more of the outside parties. And then from there, he sent me out to work for David Geffen because they saw that I had a little bit more of I was more polished in the sense that I had the ability to do front of the house, back of the house. I was very good at that.
Right.
And it was a natural thing for me. So, and that's how I ended up getting into the private sector.
Wow. You also have a catering business, right?
I do.
And I want to talk a little bit about that and about Montilla Meals.
Yes.
So how did that start? Because it's an interesting story how Montilla Meals
So,
started, correct?
yes, March 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, my wife's aunt had just passed away. And this, I don't know if you remember the early stages of the COVID, you know, there's ships in China and they're not letting the passengers off. And there was a case here, there was a case there.
Cruise ships.
It started with the cruise ships. And then we actually have relatives that were about to go on a very fancy cruise ship. I think it was either March or April. They were about to go to Europe and they got canceled. But anyway, we're at the funeral. My wife's brother, he's a marketing genius. You know, this guy should have been a millionaire 10 times over.
Right.
You know, he does all different types of things. So I'm getting calls from different clients that they wanted me to come and start sending food. And I'm like, wait a second. I call my vendors, food vendors. I was dealing with a lot of, you know, wholesalers. And are you guys going to shut down? It looks like we're coming to a shutdown. So I remember buying a big Yeti. I have a Yeti that's maybe like 5 foot long. I bought dry ice and I bought a couple 100 pounds of meat, chicken, fish, stored it there. After the funeral, we went back to the house and I said to Brad, Brad, how long would it take us to get up and running? Let's get a website up and running. He said 24 hours. Not only did we have a website, we had a point of sale, which is very challenging to do, you know, to get credit card, you know, everything was done.
Right.
We were up and running, I say within 48 hours, and we started Montilla Meals during the pandemic.
And got it running pretty smoothly, pretty quickly.
Yes, and this is out of my house.
I remember it was May of 2020.
Well, that's Danny's birthday.
Yeah, it was the first time that I.
I'll never forget, May 2020, he's like, we're doing a Cinco de Mayo promo, and he writes to me, he says, it's Danny's birthday, his wife. Can you send a cake? And you know, we're not equipped for this. And I remember giving the cake to one of the drivers, and they've got 50 orders in their car. He sends me a picture of the cake. It's all smashed up.
Oh
and
my
God!
It looked like it was like dropped on the sidewalk.
Like, what happened?
Here I am trying to help him out. Like, send the cake. You know, here's the guy that saved my face. Anyway, it was actually a funny story. But so we became very successful during the pandemic, and while restaurants were closing, a lot of these people we employed. I'd say probably about 10 to 12 families.
Wow.
For about 2 years, and it was a very successful. We designed a menu where it was kid-friendly, you know, lasagnas, chicken parm, pasta for the kids, chicken tenders, pigs in the blanket, you know, shit that you want to eat while you're, you know, cocooned up in your house.
Right.
And
comfort food.
It was comfort food, and then we started like spreading our radius. We had 9 drivers that worked strictly for us. We would bring in more drivers. There was a point in time that we had a refrigerated truck in front of the house.
Wow.
You know, for like Thanksgiving meals. And so we blew up. We were not prepared, considering, you know, the operation how we were running a clandestine operation, for a lack of a better word. We did very well. There were a few complaints. Not everything was perfect, but I'd say
a few dropped cakes.
Yeah, no, we only did 1 drop cake. I said, we're never sending a cake. But anyway, so you know, things were shutting down, and then when things opened up, you know, for a second, and then they shut down again, you know, we saw our business go up, go down, go up, go down, and you know, we're trying to modify, you know, and kind of like, you know, modify with the times. Came August of last year, you know, now we're starting to like decline a little bit as far as sales goes, and we decided to shut down for the month of August. It was actually my big birthday, my 60th birthday, so we decided to take a month off. We went to Europe. We paid some of the employees to keep them kind of like on the hook. And when we came back, her brother thought that it would be a good idea to rebrand the name. So we went from Montilla Meals to the Hillside Kitchen LA. What we did that I don't think any restaurant does or has done is when we cook our food, we let it come to room temperature and then we package it. You know, you go to a steakhouse, Dantana's, Mastro's, you order a steak medium rare to go. They cook that steak, they put it in a container, they cover it up, they put it in a bag, and they set it aside. If you ever walk into a restaurant, you'll see a side for Uber Eats, Grubhub,
Right.
DoorDash. That food is sitting there. It continues to cook. You're going to get that steak, that medium rare steak is going to get well done by the time you get it. The same thing with pizza. People cook pizzas. They come out of the oven, they put them in the box, they slice them, and they cover them. What are you getting? a cardboard scented pizza. That's why the pizza always tastes better when you have it at the pizzeria or if you take it home and put it in the oven yourself. But cut to, I think that where I want to go from here is hopefully, people, I've built a name. I've been doing this for 20 some years now. And I'd like to get back into the private sector. I like to be, in front of people. I'd like to be able to do my thing.
I'd like to add that you make this beautiful, amazingly gorgeous, which I saw the picture and my mouth was watering. Paella, like these ginormous paellas, which is a work of art.
Yeah, it is a work of art. And, again, I don't know if we tapped into this earlier, but it's all about, being organized, being neat, you have to be
meticulous.
You have to be anal, for lack of a better word.
Right.
So the paella, the broth, it's like we buy 50, 100 pounds worth of shrimp a month. I would take those shrimp shells and save them. There's so much flavor in the shrimp shell. A lot of people cook the shrimp with the shell, take the shell off, they throw it out. But if you only knew that that's where all the flavor is. So levels, layers. The paella is all about layers. And if you have all the ingredients, you're able to create a beautiful thing. I like to cook for groups. When my wife says we're having another couple over for dinner, can we get 4 other couples? I like to see, at least.
Oh, that's amazing.
I don't enjoy cooking for 2 or 4. I like to cook for 10 or 20, at the very least.
Which is why you're doing this for a living and I'm not.
Correct.
Because 10 or 20 people for me is Thanksgiving, and that's always it's like just a day's worth of work. Yeah,
and I love to cook at home. I mean, I cook for my family, but it's very basic.
I love to cook until I start cooking. And then I'm just I'm too shy with the cooking. I want to measure, kind of like baking. Everything has to be
my
precise.
ex-wife was like that. I would walk in, she had everything like teaspoon of salt. I'm like, what is this? It's like she had everything like laid out. I'm like,
you just gotta taste it and make sure
it
tastes good.
So we're gonna have to be wrapping up soon. But there's a couple of things that I want to hit on. I want to hear the mango story.
Yes. So one of my older brother's friends would go up to the auction in Orlando. Back in the day, there was you go to these auctions and buy cars. You buy it, you touch it, you own it. Goodbye. They run down. So he's calling me. Hey, there's this Audi. It looks beautiful, and it's $5,000. I said, take it. So I finally get the car, and the next day, this article comes out how Audi, the gas pedal and the brake pedal, they were so close together that people were smashing these cars back in the 80s or 90s.
Was it the Audi 5000?
Yeah, right? Something like that. Anyway, so now I have this lemon that I thought was a great-looking car for $5,000, and I'm like, shit, I'm stuck with this. I'm done with this town. So I remember going into a friend's house and cleaning the car. I was staying with a friend at the time. I armor all the tires. I put the car in front of the house, and I put a for sale sign. It was on Bird Road over by University of Miami. So cut to, I get a call. This guy was interested in the car. I take him for a ride. He's like, I love your energy, man. I love your personality. I'm like, me? Really? Why?
Tan Man?
No, I wasn't Tan Man.
Not yet.
I wasn't Tan Man then. So the guy says to me, I want to buy the car. And I'm like, great. And I'm in the produce. I said, what kind of work do you do? So I'm in the produce business. And I'm actually heading out to LA next week. I said, oh, LA, I'm trying to sell the car so I can move to LA. He says, do you want to come and work for me? And I said, oh my God. So I said, what kind of work do you do? He says, I'm in the produce business, but specifically mangoes. Did you know that mangoes grow year round, different parts of the world? So in Miami, the mangoes grow for 2 or 3 months, and then they're all out of season. And then South America, whatever, and then Europe. There was an article that came out of the Miami Herald shortly after. It was called, there was a French guy with a beret, striped shirt, little mustache, holding a mango. And it was the last mango in Paris. I'll never forget that article. And I'm like, I'm in the mango business. So the guy pays me a check for the car. I think I was asking $6,000 or $7,000. I made $2,000.
In mangoes?
No, he paid me the check. He says, keep the car. I'll meet you in LA in 2 weeks. I get the $7,000. I keep the car. Everybody in my family thinks there's something weird with this guy. I get the check. Now he sends me an airline ticket, first class ticket from from Miami to LA. I get to LA, car picks me up, takes me to this shitty hotel called the Hotel Bel Air. I'm in the middle of a mountain.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I don't like this place. There's no action here. Here I'm like,
I'm in the neighborhood. I'm in a neighborhood.
I'll never forget. So I have breakfast with the guy the next morning. We get in the car, we go downtown, and Michael's standing there. So I'm handing like an envelope to this Asian family, with 100 cases of mango behind them, like giving them, they sold the most mango, so they get a trip to Hawaii, whatever. And I'm there, I'm the mango guy. So cut to, The next day, this guy disappears. He leaves me a note. Hey, I have to go to South America. I'll be in touch. He left $1,000 in cash. So now your room is booked for the next 4 or 5 days. You can stay here. So I asked the concierge, is there any way that you guys can move me to a different hotel?
Oh my God, he wants to move out of the Bel Air to a different hotel.
So they put me at the Mondrian on Sunset. Now there's action there. I love, the Sky Bars. And I ended up meeting, next thing you know, I met a bartender. We became friends. I ended up staying with him. And it was all history since.
Oh my God.
The mango story.
The mango story.
That's how I got here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And have you gone back to stay at the Bel Air Hotel since?
No. Oh, no, I haven't. But listen to this. I never saw that guy ever again. And about 2 or 3 years went by, and I tell everybody the story about the mango. The guy was like, oh, the guy was gay. No, he wasn't. He would have made a move or something, but none of that.
He was transporting coke in the mangoes.
I go to the...
In the Audi.
Yeah, probably.
Where's the Audi? Yeah, where's the Audi end up?
So, I go to the airport to pick up a friend like 2, 3 years later, and I've been telling everybody this mango story. Can you guys believe this shit? I ended up making money and, whatever. I'm at the airport picking up a friend. I see this guy get off I said, Will. His name was Will Cavan. I'll never forget this guy's name. Michael, I got to make a connection. I'll call you tomorrow. Never saw the guy ever again.
Oh my God. I love that mango story.
So,
speaking of the music business, do you know who my cuñado is?
No.
Jose Jose.
Jose. Wow.
Yeah.
Little skinny thin guy.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
No. My brother-in-law was a very famous Latin singer. He was called the king of romance. No. Everywhere in the world.
Wow. Yeah, he was like a Luis Miguel, but before Luis Miguel was, who
he doesn't know who Luis Miguel is.
And by the way,
known as Luis Me.
I mean, I'm all about music, but I think this is not the genre for me.
No.
But I have a hidden talent that we haven't tapped in, and I am a full-blown percussionist. I play congas, timbales, bongos.
Shut up! My dad used to play the congas too.
That's going to be our second show.
Oh my God!
And I recorded with Simon and Garfunkel.
No way.
Yes.
That was one of the questions that we had to ask you today is like, other than, because cooking is an art.
Right.
Other than cooking,
I had lots of jobs.
What is your other art form? And it
You'd be
seems
surprised.
like
So
music, right?
You'd be surprised. Dawn will tell you this. I'll do the flowers. We're having 20 people over, her birthday. I'll do all the flowers. I do the decor. I clean. So I almost go through a ritual before I actually start cooking. Everything has to be clean. Everything has to be in order.
The OCD kicks in.
Yeah, that's a diagnosis. That's not a talent.
Correct.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no pill for that. Yeah. But what I consider myself to be in a capsule, I am the guy that is able to stimulate all of your senses: the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears. You come to the house. We have a beautiful view of the city. The house looks beautiful. The food, the music, and the taste. And I've been able to...
That should be the new name of your catering company.
Which would be?
5 Senses.
5 Senses.
Oh, I love that. And it was birthed
Don,
here.
you writing that down?
On Beyond the OR with Dr. B. So we have to wrap this up, unfortunately.
We'll do it again, right?
Such a
You'll have me back
pleasure.
again,
Yes. There's so much more
with
stuff.
The congas.
With the congas. I'll bring the bongos and you can...
Yeah. So one just quick answer. What is the one quick tip that you can give our viewers when it comes to cooking? One quick tip.
The one quick tip that I could give to viewers out there that want to get into the kitchen, get the best ingredients that you can afford and love what you do, because it should be about fun. It's not, I do it for a business, for a living, but when I'm home, I cook under my own terms and, it's casual. I enjoy it. It's got to be fun, and it never gets old. Working in a restaurant, you're assigned to a station. You do the same thing day after day after day. What I love about being a free spirit is that I'm able, people ask me, do you have menus? There's no menus on my site. I create everything. I talk to you. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like.
Right.
And I'll remember that, and I'll create a menu based on, but being organized and having some passion.
And having fun with it.
Having fun with it, but being organized and get the best ingredients possible.
Perfect. On that note, I don't think we will have you back, correct?
You don't think we'll have him back?
Oh, no, we will have him back.
Oh, we will.
And we'll be entertained, too, because you're going to bring your congas.
I'm going to bring my
and some food.
And some food, and I'm also going to bring pictures of my before and after this gentleman fixed my face up, because I think that you guys would love to see that.
Oh, I would love to see that. One thing, Michael, before we leave, can you let our listeners know where they can find your,
My website is www.michaelmontilla.com. Right now we have delivery in the area. We're doing 2 days a week now, Mondays and Fridays. And you can find that menu on www.hillside Kitchen LA. That's hillsidekitchenla.com. But more about me is at www.michaelmontilla, that's MONTILLA.com.
Excellent.
Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you guys
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Chef.
I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank
Yes.
you. Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the OR with Dr. Brenner. Make sure to subscribe, like, and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kevin Brenner MD and KevinBrennerMD.com.